is your host, Kristen Howe with Manifest Everything Now, discovering the secrets to effortless manifestation. I am so excited to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Dr. Robert Anthony. Dr. Anthony is an undercover secret for some of the most successful people on the planet, and for the past 30 years, he's spent his life unraveling the mysteries of the mind. During that time, he's earned a PhD in behavioral psychology and has worked as a master hypnotist, NLP practitioner, and personal performance trainer. In addition to being certified by the American Board of Hypnotherapy, he is highly trained in all forms of energy therapy and is a member of the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology. His flagship books, Beyond Positive Thinking, and his multi-million-copy bestseller, The Ultimate Secrets of Total Self-Confidence, are published in 22 foreign languages. And Dr. Anthony is also the author of one of the most powerful manifestation programs in the world, The Secret of Deliberate Creation. His approach is to show his clients how to align their subconscious mind with the natural laws of the universe to reverse the polarity in their life. So, rather than eliminating the things they don't want, they become naturally attracted towards the things they do want. On today's call, Dr. Anthony is going to share with you how to master your inner game. He's literally going to give you an owner's manual for your mind so that you will learn how to think, not just what to think. You will actually learn how to think. You'll learn how to correctly use the power of your mind, and you'll learn how to make lasting and sustainable changes in your life so that you actually design the life of your dreams. So, without any further ado, I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Anthony to the call. Thank you for joining us, and welcome.
Thanks, Kristen. As you know, I'm excited about sharing this with everyone, so I'm just going to get right into it, because I want our listeners to get as much as possible as they can out of this call. We're living in difficult times now, and people are facing a lot of problems. If you think about it, our ability to be happy and successful is about being able to solve problems. And that's why most people are overwhelmed and they're stressed out. Their problems, externally and internally, are mounting up, and it's hard to keep up without getting discouraged. And have you ever noticed, too, that when you finally resolve one problem, another one replaces it? For example, you have a money problem. You get that resolved, then you have a health problem. You get that resolved, you have a relationship problem, and so on. And you keep going in a circle. And the reason for this is we continually attract problems because we're unconsciously shaping our reality. And when this happens, we become the effect instead of the cause of our lives. And what I've discovered is that the only way that we can permanently break this cycle is we have to change what's inside of us to change what's outside of us. So there's no other way that we can ever find peace or stop struggling until we learn how to consciously shape our reality. About 6 months ago, I presented an advanced training program to our Inner Circle members on how to shape their reality, and specifically, how they could use this training to solve any problem or eliminate any obstacle that comes up in their life. In other words, through the reality-shaping process, I would teach them how to be their own therapist and their own life coach.
Yeah, I also remember one of the things that was most appealing to every one of us was about, you talked about how we can sustain the changes, and no one else teaches this.
And that's right. You know, most personal development programs will show you how to make the change, but not how to sustain it for the rest of your life. And if you don't do that, then you're right back to where you started. So there has to be a way to make sure that you not only make the changes, but you sustain them. In order to do this, I told the members of the Inner Circle that I would give them the exact change work process that I use with every client that I work with. And this process virtually guarantees that the change will be permanent. And this advanced training wasn't just about the law of attraction, positive thinking, and so on, but about learning how to shape your reality. Because when you can do that, shift happens. So I conducted this training over a 6-week period. But for now, I'd like to give everyone who's listening to this an idea of how the reality-shaping process works. And if you're like our Inner Circle members, I think you'll find this very useful. The first thing I'd like to discuss is how we organize our reality. I call it a reality loop, and it works like this. A reality loop is a circular process or a feedback loop that's self-perpetuating. It consists of perception, belief, response, and experience. Now, the way it works is we have an experience in our life which causes us to have a perception of that experience. That perception forms our belief. The belief determines whether we can or we cannot do something. This drives our response or our behavior, which creates another experience, which confirms or reinforces our perception, which drives our belief, and so on. Here's a real-life experience of how this works. Let's say as a child, you had an experience where you were told that you're stupid and you'll never amount to anything. So that experience formed your perception related to your self-confidence. Your perception formed a belief that you're stupid, that you'll never amount to anything. In other words, it affects your self-confidence. Now, it doesn't matter what was said to you or what you experienced. What matters is your perception of that experience. Your current perception comes from experiences, thoughts, and memories from your past. And we'll get back to that a little bit later. So this belief fires up your imagination so that you feel that you don't have enough self-confidence to go after what you want in life. Or in a social situation, you don't have enough confidence to meet new people or ask for a date when you find someone you're interested in. This causes a response or behavior, and it can physiologically affect you as well. You might even feel physically ill if you have to interact with other people. More than likely, you won't take action or you'll avoid these situations. Then you experience the result of that response or that behavior of not taking action, which causes frustration because you lack confidence to go after what you want. This reinforces your perception that you're not confident, and you create a self-reinforcing reality loop that you lack self-confidence. And each time this happens, you add the experience of not being confident to your belief bank. Now, with the reality loop, perception is the fundamental driver. My primary objective as a hypnotist and a mind coach is the modification of perception. And the reason being is that people always reflexively imagine that what they perceive and what they believe is true. And since the subconscious mind is a reality generator, they continue to create the same reality. Now, another way of looking at this is to use the model of the thinker and the prover. In simplistic terms, the human mind is divided into two parts, the thinker and the prover. Now, the thinker can think about and believe virtually anything. It doesn't matter if it's true or false, real or imagined. For example, in the field of epigenetics, which studies the effects of the mind on the cells of the body, this study has shown that the thinker can think itself sick and even think itself well again. Now, having worked in the human potential field for over 30 years, I've learned that the mind and the body are not two separate systems. Actually, there's no such thing as the mind and body connection. The mind and the body are one. Now, one of the things that most people don't realize is that illness, even serious illness like cancer and heart disease, are unconsciously created by the thinker and reinforced by the prover. So this is another reason why it's so valuable to understand reality loops, because they can affect your health and your well-being. Now, the prover is actually a very simple mechanism. It operates on one law only, which is whatever the thinker thinks, the prover proves. So what we're talking about here is how human beings prove that their beliefs are true, even going as far as to alter their physiology to do so. In short, if the thinker believes something's possible, the prover will find a way to make it happen. But if the thinker believes it's not possible, then the prover is going to be sure to prove that it's not possible. The reality loop model is essentially the same process as the thinker and the prover. The reality loop is actually a trance state where the individual's perception and then their belief fires and shapes their imagination. Now, once their imagination is activated, it triggers a physiological response in their body to take or avoid action, which creates a new experience based on that action or inaction. And that experience reinforces their perception and then their belief. So the reality loop not only creates, but it maintains our reality.
Yeah, one of the things that you taught us, and I think this is so interesting, is how reality loops can also work in a really positive way as well.
The really cool thing about positive and creative reality loops is that the experiences that we have feeds back into our belief system and provides us with evidence to support our positive beliefs. What this means is if your reality loops are getting you what you want, you can become much more precise and effective in every area of your life because you can monitor the loops. And you can know when you need to make adjustments, when to strengthen them, when to perpetuate them, and when to modify them. When you start to understand reality loops and how to change them or how to generate and maintain them, you can use this knowledge to your advantage. One of the things I tell my clients is this: take care of the loops and your life will take care of itself. And over time, I've come to see that my change work with my clients is really a way of taking them to a place where they can alter their reality loops. I help them to create the certainty in their ability to do or change whatever they desire, which is then maintained by the new reality loop. Now, the thing that's interesting about reality loops is that we're shaping our reality all the time with our perception or our internal representation about the world. So, in a very real way, we are in every moment of the day creating, or at least co-creating, the experiences that we have, or the reality that we have through this loop-driven process. Now, we tend to get stuck in all kinds of reality loops, and each and every moment that we're in a reality loop, we experience it as real. Now, that's not always bad because the positive loops that we create often generate cool things. They allow us to do things unconsciously competent, and we get great results in our lives. These results are because of the positive, productive, functional reality loops that we're in. However, there are other times when we run these negative, unproductive, dysfunctional reality loops. And these keep us trapped. They keep us from being ourselves and being our very best. And they come from a different kind of place. So the question you have to ask yourself is, where are your reality loops being driven from? What is it that's driving your reality loops? Are you being driven by what you love to do and create in life? Or are your loops being driven by your ego, by your fears, by survival, or by trying to protect yourself from things that you're worried about now or in the future?
Yeah, I like what you said about hypnosis or dehypnosis in reality loops. Can you share that with everyone?
Sure. What I said was that most of the clients who come to me for hypnosis really don't need hypnosis. What they need is dehypnosis. They need to be dehypnotized or taken out of their fear-driven reality loops that are screwing up their lives and keeping them from getting the really cool things that they want. When I do my hypnotic entertainment show that I call Playing with Your Mind, I often put people into fun reality loops where they're stuck to something, like their foot stuck to the floor and they can't move. And I do this to visually and vividly demonstrate how reality loops work. So it's a lot of fun for me and it's a lot of fun for them. However, it's not fun if you're in a reality loop that's keeping you from having the life that you want. If you feel inspired, if you feel like you can really make things happen, if you really feel connected to your creativity and your passion, you're probably running some pretty healthy reality loops. You're using the power of your mind to make stuff happen. And to me, this is the real magic of the reality loop. On the flip side, if you're struggling in any area of your life, if you feel stuck, if you feel fearful or anxious or unsure of yourself, or if you're procrastinating at anything, there's a good chance that you're stuck in a fear-driven reality loop. So what you want to be able to do is to get out of those reality loops and get out of the stuff that's driving you so that you can create new realities and new loops that are fresh, that are empowering, and most of all, that are fun. And this is the way that you solve problems in life.
So can you explain in a little more detail how this actually works, especially in regard to the conscious and subconscious mind? You know, this was the first time I really understood how the conscious and subconscious are so different in regard to making changes.
I'd be happy to share that. One of the basic principles in making changes is that it doesn't matter what your conscious mind wants. What controls your life is what your subconscious mind believes. So here's what you need to pay attention to. Before you can make any change in your life, you must realize that no matter how logical you think you are, you're emotionally driven. And that's because the subconscious mind is an emotional mind. The conscious is the logical mind. But it's the subconscious emotional mind that creates our reality and determines our behavior, not the conscious mind. The subconscious is also where we hold our perceptions and beliefs. And these perceptions and beliefs create something called perceptional blindness. Perceptional blindness is the failure to see reality. Instead, you only see what you want to see. And this usually happens when a person, a situation, or circumstance doesn't match your perception of reality. So any problems in your life, whether it's relationships, self-confidence, health issues, business, money issues, you name it, is because of the reality loops that you're running. And it's also the perceptional blindness that they're causing. Let's take a moment and look at how most people try to resolve their problems, because this is where we get stuck. More importantly, we get frustrated with ourselves, because at times it seems like we're not making much progress. You start to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why can't I consistently achieve what I think I'm capable of achieving? It's like I'm going one step forward and two steps back. Well, the problem is that you're stuck in a hypnotic trance. Each self-limiting belief that you have is actually a trance state that you go into. And I call these negative trances. What we need is a paradigm shift approach that allows us to recreate ourselves by eliminating negative trances that cause us to behave in self-defeating and self-destructive ways. Now, the model used in most self-improvement books, audio programs, and seminars is that more information plus motivation plus action equals change. Now, this approach makes sense to most people, whether they're therapists, whether they're parents, or whether they're individuals. If you know what to do, and you know how to do it, and if you're motivated, positively or negatively, and you take action, isn't that all you need? Well, obviously no. Otherwise, everyone would be wearing seatbelts, which they don't. Everyone would keep their New Year's resolutions instead of giving up in a few days or a few weeks. People who drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, or are overweight would change their behavior. But the information plus motivation plus action model isn't enough to change behavior patterns because our behaviors are rooted in our emotions. Our emotions are rooted in our perception or our internal representation. And this is what's driving us. And the reason this is important is that all sustainable change must and can only occur when we change our internal representation, because this is what drives us emotionally. This is what drives our reality loops. See, most people try to make changes using their conscious mind, and this is why insight therapy has such a high failure rate, or it takes so long to accomplish. Insight therapy, or conventional psychology, talks about the problem or the symptom. You go back in history and you find out why you have it. The problem with this type of therapy is that you're talking to the conscious mind, but that's not where the problem lies. So no matter how much insight you have to change the subconscious emotional program that's running you. Also, when you deal with the conscious mind, the negative internal representations or patterns have not been removed. The information plus motivation plus action model doesn't work because it doesn't deal with the emotional beliefs or drivers. So sustainable change is not possible. The subconscious emotional mind is where all our experiences, memories, perceptions, and self-limiting beliefs are stored. However, it's equivalent to a tape player. The tape player records and stores experiences and then plays them back. So you have the conscious thinking mind, and then you have the subconscious tape player mind.
Okay, so where does the positive thinking come into this? If we hold on to positive thoughts, will those positive thoughts eventually manifest themselves?
Well, here's what's really happening when we use positive thinking. Let's say you want to make some change in your life. You want to remove perceptions, internal representations of past experiences, or self-limiting beliefs that are keeping you from being healthy, building your business, having a loving relationship, losing weight, or whatever. So you start off thinking positive about it. The problem is that while you're having all these wonderful positive thoughts in your conscious rational mind, your subconscious emotional mind's running the show. In the subconscious, there's a tape player going. The programs on the tape are either working for you or they're sabotaging you. Now, these programs are rooted in our past experiences, our memories, and our internal representations. And they limit our ability and they take away our power. Now, the relevance of positive thought is this. Positive thought is a creative thinking process that comes from the conscious rational mind. So, as I sit here and I have all these wonderful positive thoughts and I visualize all these wonderful things in my conscious mind, my subconscious mind is still running the show. Now stop and think about the mechanical aspect of this. I'm having these thoughts with my conscious mind, and I'm having competing thoughts and programs that are recorded in my subconscious mind. So I'm having these positive thoughts about being healthy, building my business, having a loving relationship, losing weight, and so on. However, at the same time, I have a tape recording or a program in my subconscious that says it's going to be difficult to heal from this condition, or the economy is bad and building your business is going to be very difficult, or you're not worthy of a loving relationship, or you failed at every relationship that you've ever been in, and so on. So what's happening is my positive thoughts are competing against my subconscious program because they're opposite. Another major difference between the conscious and subconscious mind is when viewed as a processor or as a computer, the subconscious mind is much more powerful than the conscious mind. So my positive thoughts are working on a tiny processor in my conscious mind, and my competing thoughts are working on a mega processor in my subconscious mind. Which one do you think is going to win? Of course, the subconscious is going to win, hands down, every time. The conscious mind or positive thought may win through sheer willpower, but willpower is always temporary because it takes too much energy to sustain it over a long period of time. So, while I can try to maintain positive thoughts in my daily life, my conscious mind only operates on those thoughts less than 5% of the time. 95% of the time, I'm operating from the subconscious or the other belief system. So do the math. How powerful are positive thoughts? The answer is they're useless unless the subconscious has the same program and agreement as the conscious mind. So the subconscious is equivalent to a tape player. It records our perception of our experiences and then plays them back. But here's the catch. The nature of the subconscious mind is it runs everything in the background while the conscious mind is busy paying attention to whatever's happening in the moment. If our conscious mind is busy and it's not paying attention, the subconscious will run our default program. For example, let's say that you know someone named Mary, and you know her parents, and you think Mary and her mother have pretty much the same behavior. So one day you say, you know, Mary, you're just like your mom. Now, as soon as you say that, you better be prepared for a fight because she's not going to agree with you. She's going to say, how can you say that? You know, to her, she's not like her mom at all. Now, it's interesting that everybody else can see Mary as just like her mom, but Mary can't. So the question is, why not? And the answer is, when she's playing the past programming that she got from her mother, she's not paying attention. She's playing her default program. So when these programs play, she doesn't see them. So she's surprised when people say that she's like her mom.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. It's true. You see that a lot. Most people will literally deny that they're like their parents.
We don't consciously see when the subconscious is playing our default programs. We think we're thinking, but we're on autopilot. Now, the significance of this is when we're operating from these default programs and not seeing it, we're also not seeing that we're playing programs that may not be supporting who we are and what we want to achieve. because those are in the conscious mind. So when we're operating from our default program, the conscious mind says, I want, and the subconscious mind says, you can't. And you already know which one's going to win. Also, when life doesn't seem to work, when you don't find that relationship you're looking for, or when you don't get the healing you're looking for, even though you're thinking positive, you're going to have a tendency to blame something or someone outside of you. Because as far as you know, your conscious intention is for all these wonderful things to happen. And when they don't happen and you don't get what you want, it can't be your fault because you have all these wonderful positive thoughts and intentions. But what you don't see is while you're having those positive intentions, using your conscious mind, your subconscious mind's default program is still running the show. Now, why is this important? Because we generally cop the attitude that there are forces outside of us that control our life. You know, we often feel it's the economy, my relationship, my physical problem, my past, and so on that's holding me back, and I can't do anything about it. And as soon as you buy into that, you declare yourself a victim. And nothing will change for you until you change that program. Because it's your internal representation or your perception of these situations that's controlling the outcome of your life. We also bought into this idea that there's somebody in the subconscious. Meaning, if my conscious mind finds that my subconscious mind is behaving in a way that's not supporting my conscious intention and my positive thinking, my conscious mind can talk to my subconscious. And it could say something like, you can do better than that, or don't do that. And my subconscious will respond. You think you're having this inner dialogue. Then you get upset because you keep doing the same thing over and over, and your behavior is out of control. But the question is, when you do this, who are you talking to? And the answer is, you're talking to a tape recorder. The reality is, we're talking to ourselves and believing that this is going to fix or change things. But how can this happen if the program or the internal representation is in the subconscious? So when you try to use the conscious mind to change your subconscious mind, what you're really doing is talking to a tape player. The problem is there's nobody in there.
Yeah, I remember when you first shared this with the Inner Circle members, almost everyone said that they never looked at it this way before because we've all been conditioned to believe that if we use positive thinking and we talk to our subconscious, it will eventually change the program.
Yeah, most people believe that. However, if you still believe that's true, try this experiment. Tape players are a thing of the past, but if you have a smartphone, you probably have a voice recorder built into it. I want you to turn it on and record a short message that says, you're stupid and you'll never amount to anything. Do this 2 or 3 times. You're stupid, you'll never amount to anything. You're stupid, you'll never amount to anything. Now, when you're done, I want you to play the recording back and listen to it. And as the message is playing, if you don't like the message, here's what I want you to do. Talk to the recorder. Talk to it and suggest that it change the program while it's playing. Even tell it what you want to play. Say, no, I want you to say, I'm not stupid. I'm intelligent. I can do anything I set my mind to. Notice what happens. The recording hasn't changed. And this is what happens when you talk to your subconscious mind while it's in the play mode. Now, what will usually happen is once you realize the old program is still playing and it hasn't changed after you told it to, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get more upset at yourself. Why? Because you used your conscious mind to ask the program to change, and it hasn't changed yet. And if you keep doing this, you're going to even get more upset because you can't control the recording. So let me ask you this question. How much talking to a tape player does it take before it changes the message? The answer is none. It can't be done. It's not that you can't change the tape or the recording. However, you can't do that with the conscious mind. You have to learn how to push the record button instead of the play button. And then you can record a new program in the subconscious. That will be the new recording that it will act on. You have to put the subconscious in the record mode, not the playback mode. So, the issue is, if you want to make sustainable change, you have to learn how to engage the tape player in the record mode and not just talk to it while it's playing. And when I work with a client, I use something I call the NeuroTap Change Protocol. It's like pushing the record button in the subconscious mind, meaning we take out the old recording and we replace the experiences, memories, internal representations so that it will play something else. And I created the NeuroTap Change Protocol after years of observing that most people could initiate positive change, but they couldn't sustain it. The NeuroTap Change Protocol is designed to break the negative trances, and it allows you to dehypnotize yourself by literally tapping into your subconscious. Now, when you hear the word tapping, you might be thinking of EFT or some other meridian tapping method. The NeuroTap is not another meridian tapping method. In fact, you only do 2 taps. And this is purely symbolic to open the neural pathway to make the change. And I use this all the time with my clients, and it's extremely powerful. The NeuroTap Change Protocol breaks into the reality loop at the perception stage. Remember, you have perception, belief, response, and experience. If you change your perception or your internal representation, which is the emotion that's driving you, and you eliminate the experiences, memories, thoughts, and beliefs that are limiting you, you automatically solve any problem in your life. And the reason this happens is because you remove your perceptual blindness. And when you do that, you automatically find new opportunities and you create new possibilities for action. And this is where you benefit most from the process. The subconscious mind, the decision maker, helps us to focus on what we already hold to be true. And the only way you're going to get something different in your life is you have to change the references or the internal representations for the decision maker. Because this is the part that handles your automatic responses. So when you use the NeuroTap Change Protocol, you can be in full control of your thoughts and your self-limiting beliefs. And I've done this for so long, I can just tap now, and the negative program is resolved immediately. The negative stuff no longer gets into my subconscious because I've removed and I've changed the old memories, experiences, and internal representations, as well as the self-limiting beliefs. And the best part is you can use this anytime, anywhere. You can not only remove past negative programming, but you can heal your current unconscious negative programming as it arises. You simply counter the negativity of the mind by neutralizing it right then and there. It never becomes a problem for the future.
Now, after you taught us the NeuroTap Change Protocol, I began to use it all the time. And the thing that I thought was amazing is it's actually deceptively simple, but it works like magic.
Yes, it does. And it's not rocket science. It works on a very sound principle of conscious replacement. As you already know, your thoughts are the most powerful creative energy that you have at your disposal. And until you learn to control your thoughts and emotions, you will create your life by default. Now, if you've studied my Secret of Deliberate Creation program, you realize that creation is happening all the time, either consciously or unconsciously. What we want to be is a deliberate creator. And we want it to be easy and effortless. No struggle, no stress, no strain, no pain. And part of why the deliberate creation process is so easy is we have physiological as well as psychological hardwiring within our nervous system that makes creation an effortless process. Our nervous system is designed so that the more we repeat a pattern, the easier it gets. Neural pathways only grow through repetition. With consistent repetition, your body makes a neural pathway. And once a neural pathway is built, repetitive actions happen without conscious thought. Now, the major benefit, besides removing obstacles and problems in our life, is when we remove and we replace the memories, experiences, thoughts, and self-limiting beliefs behind them, it dramatically alters our point of attraction at the same time. A lot of people are confused about the law of attraction. They believe if you have the right intention, if you're positive and you think the right thoughts, you'll attract what you desire. But that's not true. What the law of attraction really does is it attracts what you already hold within you. If you don't change what you hold within you, your internal representation about yourself and about life, which forms your reality loop, nothing else will work. You'll struggle for the rest of your life. So the key to a healthy and happy life is taking control and changing the default mode that's keeping you stuck where you are. And when you do that, you're virtually guaranteed to change because you're reshaping your reality. You simply need to train your brain to do something different. You need to neutralize the power or the energy behind the memory, experience, or self-limiting belief until it's gone. This is really powerful stuff. This training had a profound effect on every member of our inner circle. The inner circle members benefited so much from the training that they were unanimously in favor of sharing this with everyone else. So at that point, I was faced with the challenge of how I could set this up so I could make it available to everyone who wants to take the training. In fact, at that point, I didn't even have a name for it. And just as I was about to put it together, one of the inner circle members made a comment. And he said, "You know what? This whole training is like having an owner's manual for your mind." So I started on a 6-month journey to put together an owner's manual for your mind and to put it together in such a way that people could experience it, not just gather more information. And I recently completed the lessons, and I'm calling this training Mastering Your Inner Game, an Owner's Manual for Your Mind.
See, Dr. Anthony, this is exactly what I'm so excited about, because what you've created actually gives everyone listening the opportunity to recreate themselves in a full, and the key word here is permanent way. And it's something completely different. So what I'd love to do, because I know you put together a special offer here, that up until now, this is stuff that only your inner circle members have had access to. So what I want to do is give everybody the link and then have you go ahead and explain what they'll find there. And what I really want to make sure you talk about is I know you've done something unique with how you've timed the training and when each module is released. And I personally believe this is one of the major keys to success with this. So everyone, go to www.manifesteverythingnow.com/game, spelled GAME. I highly encourage you, go there now so that you can experience this for yourself. And Dr. Anthony, if you can tell us what we'll find there.
Absolutely, because I believe this is very important. Most of the books, audio programs, and DVD programs that you've purchased in the past were delivered at one time. When you completed your order, you had a ton of audio, video, or PDF files on your computer. And more than likely, you read or played one right after the other. And in the end, you had more information, but you still didn't get the change you were looking for. And one of the primary reasons that you didn't get the change is because you never really internalized what you've learned. It's still sitting in your conscious mind and on your computer. But if you really want to make changes, it has to sit in your unconscious or your subconscious mind where it's acted upon. So to resolve this issue and make sure you experience the changes that you're looking for, I've broken down the lessons into bite-sized pieces. This is a 12-lesson training program that's delivered 2 lessons per week for a 6-week period. Now, this prevents you from becoming overloaded with more information, and it also gives you time to internalize the concepts and actually apply them in your life. So each week, you will receive 2 lessons. Most of them are on an MP3 audio format of about 25 to 40 minutes each. So about 45 minutes to an hour a week of training. One of the lessons will be on a PDF. Now, when you listen to these lessons, I want you to have an experience, not just compile more information. And when you do this, you'll not only internalize the lessons, but you'll enjoy learning something new every week. Here's a brief summary of each lesson. In week 1, lesson 1, we have the funnel of limitation. Now, this is a different way of looking at life and putting perspective on how conscious you are and how conscious other people are on the planet. The goal in life is to climb out of the funnel of limitation, to be more conscious and to learn how to think for yourself. Lesson 2 is one brain, two minds. And this is a complete explanation of the inner workings of the conscious and subconscious mind. And you'll find this very interesting because you're going to learn things about the conscious and subconscious that most people have no clue about. So lesson 1 and lesson 2 are basic training. Without this, the rest won't make sense to you. Okay, week 2, lesson 3. The title is The Trojan Horse Within Your Mind. And in this lesson, we discuss how the mind blocks your ability to make changes and what you can do about it. And in lesson 4, we have the conflicting mind, conflicting life. Now this lesson is based on the principle that all problems in life come from one thing. Your conscious mind wants one thing, and your subconscious mind wants something else. And when that happens, you virtually have no chance of success. So I will show you how to synchronize both your conscious and your subconscious mind for maximum benefit. Week 3, lesson 5, how and why we produce problems and symptoms in our lives. And this is where we kick it up a notch. In this lesson, I show you how you produce problems and symptoms in your life, whether it's depression, procrastination, lack of self-confidence, the inability to make changes, and so on. Because one of the things you'll learn throughout this training is that things don't just happen to you. You unconsciously or you consciously create every problem or symptom in your life. And once you understand this, you can change it. You go from believing you're a victim to knowing you're a reality shaper. Lesson 6, the title is How to Be Your Own Therapist. I show you how to take what you've learned about yourself in lesson 5 and how you can use it to be your own therapist. In other words, I'll teach you how to remove these symptoms and problems, for the most part, without the help of anyone else. Since you created them, you can change them using the reverse process. Okay, we're in week 4, lesson 7, removing and replacing negative trances. All problems or obstacles are really trance states that we fall into. We're literally hypnotized. And in this lesson, I'll show you how to dehypnotize yourself by removing the negative trances that are running your life. In lesson 8, we have the NeuroTap change protocol, how to make rapid changes. I discussed this a little bit previously, but this is an important lesson because it's the actual change work process that I use with my clients. It's not like EFT or any other meridian tapping process. In fact, you're going to see that meridian tapping has nothing to do with internal change. The NeuroTap change protocol only uses 2 tapping points, which are purely symbolic. This process is easy to do, doesn't require sitting and listening to a recording. You can do it anytime, anywhere, and it works immediately. More importantly, I've set it up so that you have proof that it works, so that you can actually measure your results. Okay, week 5, lesson 9, your mind and your health. In this lesson, you're going to learn how and why we have illness, and how you can use this information to heal not only your mind, but your body as well. And this is based on the latest understandings that we have about the mind-body connection and epigenetics. If you or anyone else you know is suffering from illness, I think you'll find this lesson very useful in making some positive changes. Lesson 10, the true nature of your being, a blueprint of your personal destiny. And this is one of my favorite lessons because it addresses who you really are at a spiritual or energetic level. And it gives you a better understanding of your overall purpose, why you're here, and what your journey is really about. And finally, week 6, lesson 11, giving up a lifetime of struggle, making life easy. In this lesson, I discussed the concept of struggle. If you look around you, everyone seems to be struggling. And that's because they've shaped their reality that way. So this lesson is about completely removing struggle from your life so it's a non-issue for you. And finally, lesson 12, your journey starts now, refining your reality for guaranteed success. This final lesson is to help you to use what you've learned to start your journey and shape your reality so that you're always on the right path, in the right time, at the right place. And this allows you to feel more relaxed, more comfortable, and virtually guarantees the outcome that you desire.
And I have to pipe in here, Dr. Anthony, because I just want to let everyone know from my experience, the results are amazing. And I think it's important for people to hear from someone who has experienced this personally. I literally had massive shifts in my life in every area. I mean, from my relationships to my bank account. But, and this is the big thing, I went around to everybody in the inner circle and I talked to them about their experiences as well. And I want everyone to really take this in. We all agreed the most exciting thing, the biggest benefit, and like I said, we all agreed on this, is this. The full reality shift is great. All of the stuff that we started seeing show up in our lives was great. It's amazing. But truly, it's the bonus. The biggest benefit that we all experienced is a stress-free life. And that, I will tell you flat out, is completely life-changing. Because every single one of us experienced it. Every single one of us suddenly went, oh, not only is this stuff happening and have I shifted, but I'm not feeling stressed. I'm not feeling like I'm forcing things. And, because we all experienced it across the board, I know that it's possible for everybody listening, even you. And that's why I'm so excited. That's why I was so excited to bring Dr. Anthony here and that he agreed to do this call and share it with you. Once again, everyone, that link is www.manifesteverythingnow.com/game, spelled GAME. And Dr. Anthony, is there anything else you want to share with us before we head off?
Yeah, the one thing I do want to say is that this is not just another self-improvement program. It's a paradigm shift approach that allows individuals to recreate themselves by removing self-limiting beliefs that are causing them to behave in self-defeating and self-destructive ways. And the end result is you'll be more relaxed, you'll be happier, you'll be able to handle anything that comes your way with ease and confidence. It's really about shaping your reality. This whole idea of shaping your reality is deciding the kind of life you want to have and the kind of person you want to be. I'm sure you're familiar with the oracle at the Temple of Apollo, and above the door there's a saying, know thyself. Well, to me, that means becoming more conscious of your own process, of how you create and how you organize your reality. So instead of feeling like a victim or the effect of life, you become the cause by going inside and you see what you're doing and how you're doing it, and then you change what's driving you. It's about becoming more empowered to shape your life consciously rather than unconsciously, or worse yet, letting others do it for you. And most of us have arbitrarily ended up where we are. But what if you could learn how to recreate yourself and reinvent your life? What if you could learn how to be the architect of your own life? I'm teaching this because it matters to me. There's nothing that lights my fire more than helping people to recreate and shape their lives in cool and exciting ways. I love doing this for myself, and I love doing it for others. So mastering your inner game, an owner's manual for your mind, is about becoming a reality shaper. And I promise you, when you can shape your reality, shift happens. I hope everyone enjoyed this mini lesson. And thanks again for taking the time to listen to this call.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. You are all absolutely extraordinary, and thank you, Dr. Anthony, for everything you shared with us. You always go above and beyond and are truly, completely generous with your time, energy, and all that you give us. So thank you so much for that, and goodbye, Dr. Anthony, and goodbye, everyone else.
Goodbye, everyone.